Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a literary mystery that has puzzled people for, almost 2 centuries now. It's about one of the greatest adventure stories ever told, and it's a question hidden in plain sight. Why are our heroes, these men famous for their incredible sword skills, called the Musketeers?
It seems like a pretty simple question, right? But the answer is this incredible story about history, about what it means to be a hero, and about the choices an author makes. So, let's start digging. Okay, first things first. We need to establish the facts of the case. In the 1620s, who were the Musketeers of the Guard, really?
So they were this elite military unit, and their name, Musketeer, came from the fact that they were specialists with, the musket. You'd think their story would be packed with these things, right? And that, right there, is where our mystery really kicks off.
So now we're going to go on a little evidence hunt. We're going to search the actual pages of the novel looking for their namesake weapon. Let's see what we can find. Get this, in a book that's over 700 pages long, you have to read all the way to page 429 before a gun even shows up. And when it finally does, it's a musketon, a totally different kind of firearm. And it's not even helped by one of our main guys. The trail is cold right from the start.
But the hunt goes on. Later, during the siege of La Rochelle, a bullet zips right past D'Artagnan's head. Aha, a clue! But nope, when they check it out, the evidence shows it wasn't fired from a musket at all. It came from an even older gun called an arquebus. We are now almost 600 pages deep, and there's still not a single musket in sight.
And then we get this. This line just perfectly sums it all up. Porthos finally says, "Hey, maybe we should have brought our muskets." And Athos just shuts him down. He calls them useless burdens. Useless! This is the most important clue we have. How on earth could the one weapon that defines them be considered useless?
Okay, so the first part of the answer isn't actually in the story. It's in history. Because the musket of the 1620s was nothing like what we picture from the movies.
Yeah, there is a massive disconnect between our modern idea of a rifle and what a musket was back then. It was this heavy, clumsy, super long-barreled weapon, made for the battlefield. Definitely not something you could just whip out in a tavern brawl.
And here's the real kicker, how you fired the thing. It used a matchlock, which meant you needed a constantly burning cord. Can you just imagine trying to get that lit and ready for a quick duel in the streets of Paris? No way. It was completely impractical for the kind of swashbuckling fights our heroes are famous for. So that explains the history, but it doesn't quite explain the story.
For the real reason the muskets are missing, we've got to look at the author himself, the one and only Alexander Dumas.
You see, Dumas was writing this book in the 1840s. He was looking back 200 years into the past, and he was seeing it through this lens of high romance and epic adventure, not, strict historical accuracy.
And this is the crucial point. For Dumas, true heroism was found in noble, face-to-face sword fighting. It was dramatic, it was personal. A gun battle with those clumsy, long-range weapons, to him, that was just slaughter. It just didn't fit the kind of story he wanted to tell about his daring heroes.
So, his heroes had to be called Musketeers. That was their job title, their ticket into the king's elite guard and all the juicy court conspiracies. But the actual muskets themselves? For the kind of swashbuckling adventure he was writing, they basically got left on the cutting room floor.
So let's turn to the final piece of evidence, the one that closes this case for good. Do we ever actually see their muskets? The answer is yes, exactly once.
Way at the end of the book, on page 705, our 4 friends finally get caught by their arch-nemesis Cardinal Richelieu. And it's in this super climactic scene that we finally see them with their guns.
And in this moment of incredible tension, as the cardinal is confronting them, Athos just sort of gestures over to their equipment.
And there they are, stacked together, completely ignored, while our heroes are busy with much more important things, like playing cards and dice. It's just this perfect, almost tongue-in-cheek final image for our whole mystery. The muskets were never the point. So, the case of the Musketeers missing muskets is this great reminder that, a title doesn't always tell you the whole story. Behind every classic book is an author making very specific choices about the kind of adventure they want to take us on. It really makes you wonder, what other stories have we all completely misunderstood just by looking at the cover?